If nihilistic globalist materialism is the practice of the modern Western world, the Guardian newspaper is its Bible. If ever there's some stupid trend which seems fun and utopian on the surface but eventually leads into moral degradation, it tends to start with the Guardian. Here they are a short while ago celebrating a so-called brat summer, whatever that is. They state that Charlie XCX's new album Brat highlights how many young women currently aspire to live dirty, hedonistic, happy and braless. As always, lifestyles like that sound fun when you're 21, but if you engage in them by the time you're 31, you've pretty much ruined your life. So who could you trust more than The Guardian to define what experiences unite modern Britons? When you think of the nation you love and your ancestors, I'm sure things like this come to mind, like The Guardian says, getting incensed at 5p price hikes on meal deals, but then dropping 50 quid on 4 Morettis, marching into a Turkish barber's and requesting a sick fade, being able to quote every episode of Peep Show, referring to the pandemic as the Panny D, referring to Sainsbury's as Saney B or Sanos. You may have noticed the corny use of urban youth language there. That seems to be taken off around the Western world. Here's some senator or something in Australia doing it.
To the Sigmas of Australia, I say that this goofy-air government have been capping, not just now but for a long time. A few of you may remember when they said there'll be no phantom tax under the government I lead. They're capaholics. They're also yapaholics. They yap non-stop about how their cost of living measures are changing lives for all Australians. Just put the fries in the bag, lil bro.
Charming, isn't it? But this is the modern Western world, gone are the days of depth, tradition, meaning and mythology, and here are the days of social media addiction and the ironic veneration of urban humour. As I've stated before, to partake in this culture you have to pretend the world is a certain way rather than the way it really is. This is well exemplified by Labour MP Stella Creasy recently.
So in the summer we saw racist and Islamophobic thugs try to threaten this community here in Walthamstow.
We also saw a second-generation migrant massacre children, but you don't seem to talk about that as much.
And it was a really frightening time. Many of us were worried about what might happen, and we could see the damage that they were trying to do.
Yes, many British people felt the same way after children were murdered, and not for the first time either.
But this is a community that refused to accept that because we're proud of the diversity we have in Walthamstow. We're proud to live together. We reject those people who preach hate and try to tell us that we should not live with or disagree with people, so that means we must fight them.
Well, I'm glad you're proud to be living together in your multicultural utopia. I'm sure those fine Muslim men will be more than happy to join you on your Pride March next year.
That's why we stood together, saying they were not welcome in our community, but it's also why we hold events like this and why we do come together, because we want to show people how good it is to live in a community where you have lots of different faiths, lots of different communities living alongside each other, sharing food, sharing ideas. Yes, sometimes disagreeing, but all the time respecting each other. That's what Walthamstow is, and we welcome anybody here. We just don't welcome the racist and Islamophobic thugs.
Oh, well, that's me sold. I'm packing my bags and moving to Walthamstow. But there is something almost artistic about this piece of film on your screen, this almost innocent, blonde, middle-class, woke woman championing all of the wonderful diversity around her, while these stern-faced Muslim men stare into the camera. Do they know what she's saying? Do they care? But I'm sure Stella Creasy would inform me I'm just a stupid, evil, ignorant bigot for stating these Muslim men really only vote Labour for their ethnic and religious interests. But I should reaffirm I'm not pro any of the riots or any sort of violence. I don't blame these Muslims for voting for their own interest. I blame the politicians for creating this mess and then looking down their nose at us when we point out the ills of their own policies. But perhaps these things have to happen to wake people up, just as in your personal life. If you decide to live in delusion, eventually reality will wake you up quite rudely. You then have a choice. You either listen to reality or you ignore it and suffer more in your own psychosis and eventually corrode. Anyway, I know these things could be annoying, but I try and view them positively. They're one step closer to more and more people waking up to the present madness we're living through. These are just my thoughts, however. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.